the Irish guy, and Gareth Southgate. Oh, he definitely brushes his hair with a fork. I mean, he's definitely the type of weird individual who smears peanut butter all over his face and goes to the toilet in an empty cornflakes box. Honestly, if he wasn't famous, he'd probably be caught in the park trying to kiss the pigeons. I mean, sure, he wears a nice petticoat and sports a gentleman's beard, but clearly he's also got the backbone and spine of a Terry's chocolate orange. Honestly, there is no chance of England reaching a World Cup final. I mean, there's no way we're going to see a managerial egg muffin like him on that stage. There'd be more chance of seeing True Geordie camping outside a mosque. I mean, there were leaks. So many leaks on Twitter this morning. But I mean, how? And why? Honestly, how did news of this squad get out? I mean, it took me back to 2007 when the dial-up internet was rife with leaks about the next Harry Potter book. Spoilers. The owl died, and similarly, this was all over the net. And listen, I realised there was a heavy weight of pressure on this man ahead of picking the England squad. And honestly, this week Southgate was the most scrutinised man in the country, and he was probably terrified of getting it wrong. Well, guess what, Gareth? You have. Clearly I'm not English, so I have no vested interest in this really. But lads, I still know right from wrong. I mean, for example, I know that it's right to try and help an old lady across the road. And I know it's wrong to eat your cat's poo out of the sink. And I know that it's 100% lunacy to leave Fikayo Tomori out of the England squad. I don't even know where to start with the squad. How about Tomori? Gareth Southgate has no respect for AC Milan. I mean, you would think, with him having been a centre back for 20 years, I mean, that was his specialist position. You would think he would know a thing or two about good defenders then, right? Lads, Southgate played nearly 60 times for England. I can tell you now, Tomori, even at the tender age of 24, has achieved more in his career than Gareth ever did. I mean, let's get it right. Southgate was a mid-table centre-half for the likes of Crystal Palace, Aston Villa and Middlesbrough. Someone who got excited by winning the League Cup. Something that might as well be made out of paper mache. Honestly, the medals just look like you could win them free in a box of Cocoa Pops. Well, Tomori has just lifted the Serie A title for AC Milan. Like, no other club on planet Earth is associated more with historically great defenders than them. But Southgate has instead chosen to dip his fingers into the pool of mediocrity to extract Eric Dyer, a footballer so hideously unmemorable and dull. So choosing him in your squad is like going on a picnic with your partner and finding out that of all the exotic foods you could have picked, all she's done is just pack a vegetable yogurt and a half-eaten rat. I mean, 28-year-old Dyer is the most unforgivably boring and dull choice you could possibly have made. I mean, this is a World Cup. Could you not have had a more adventurous pick than the guy whose very face is about as exciting as a bowl of your grandma's chest hair? I mean, Southgate has doubled down and said that Harry Maguire is England's best centre-back. Yeah, he once said a similar thing about Phil Jones. I mean, right now, Maguire is a circus clown. His self-esteem is so low, I would not be surprised to find out that he's been caught patrolling the streets at 3 a.m. purely just to ask the homeless for a hug. Honestly, Southgate choosing to trust his defensive nightmare. I mean, this is a guy who Eric Ten Hag has just converted into a makeshift centre forward. Honestly, Ten Hag thinks that this guy is better used 70 yards from his own goal. He honestly thinks that Maguire is better as a makeshift Troy Deeney. Southgate, I realise you love H, but there's almost like someone who won't let his girlfriend go. He won't admit the relationship is over. Face it, Gareth, Maguire is not the same player he was at the last World Cup. In fact, he's now about as solid as one of the wax figures off Chicken Run. Listen, I like Connor Cody, but let's be honest, this summer he was termed surplus to requirements at Wolves. Yeah, I mean, I realise he's probably a great personality to keep morale high during a depressing month in Qatar. And yes, maybe Tomori doesn't know as many knock-knock jokes. But still, are you really just going to bring Cody just to be the court jester? I mean, when the squad are bored to tears whilst eating porridge in the canteen, you just get this fella to stand up on a table and just juggle bags of his own poo? It's not a reason to bring him instead of Tomori. Honestly, I really don't think it's a good look for England to be bringing a guy who's only on loan. That means he's not wanted at his parent club. Lads, here's a stat. Tomori has lost 3 of his last 50 Serie A matches. There's a guy who's barely been in Italy 5 minutes, and yet he's already been part of 30 clean sheets. 30! So leaving Tomori at home on the couch when he himself dwarfs Southgate as a player, it's kind of funny. I mean, it's a bit like one of the Spice Girls telling Pavarotti that he can't sing. I'm sorry, what? I don't get it. Southgate is a defensive coach. A boring defensive coach. He prides himself by that. He probably puts the word defensive on his Tinder bio. And yet, at the same time, he refuses to watch Serie A. What? That's like boasting that you're massively into horror films, and yet you're also too scared to watch Scream. I mean, Make up your mind. Southgate does not watch Serie A. I mean, he probably sooner watch the entire series of Hollyoaks. Well, I mean, why would he, right? Clearly, boarding a flight to Italy would just remind him of that time where he bottled a major final. I mean, even the very reminder of that country probably sends a shiver up his spine. I mean, every time his wife orders a pizza on Uber Eats, you're damn right he probably gets a nosebleed in his face. But I'm sorry, Southgate. It's your literal job. I mean, can you imagine if Fabio Capello was still England coach? Imagine him daring to omit a centre half from the great AC Milan. I think he would sooner agree to let a baboon rip off his nose at the zoo. What he would have given for an AC Milan centre half back when he was England boss. I know he has an ego, but even him, he would have probably agreed to share a single bed with his mum for a month if it meant getting Thiago Silva to be English. Choosing to ignore title-winning defenders at Milan. Again, it's like going Christmas dinner shopping and choosing to leave the turkey in the shop in favour of a moldy chicken burger and a handful of melted dairy milks. But it gets worse. Calvin Phillips has somehow got himself a ticket on the plane. Okay, deep breaths. I will try not to spit blood through my teeth, but this is football injustice. He has played 1 minute of Premier League football since May. 1 minute. The length of time it takes to wee in your hand. That is literally 1/3 of an Ed Sheeran song. 1 minute. That's probably about the length of time it takes Craig Shakespeare to tie his shoes. I mean, I'm guessing he's down there for a while. But it gets worse. Phillips has actually started 6 league games since the 5th of December 2021. 6 league starts in a year. He has contributed to 1 Premier League win since last December. And the last time Phillips was part of a home win, taking home the 3 points in front of his own fans, Newcastle United were bottom of the league. Things changed massively in a year. I mean, it was so long ago that the last James Bond film was still in cinema. Why are you bringing a man whose feet have basically been in a coma for the last year? It's actually a joke. Explain to me, Gareth, how have you put him on the plane when he hasn't been in a winning England team in over a year? I mean, he's only won 1 game at Wembley since the Euro 2020 semi-final. I don't get it. Are he and Southgate having an affair? Does he sleep at the foot of Gareth's bed like a dog? Why the extreme favoritism? Are you really that short of defensive midfielders? I mean, choosing to bring an injury-riddled Manchester City squad player. This is like if Roy Hodgson had kept bringing Jack Rodwell to World Cups. I mean, I'm pretty sure if Roy had brought him to Brazil, he'd have had doctors recommending he be stuffed in a nursing home. Honestly, Phillips' career is done. We just have to wait for Southgate to realise. Honestly, he has just signed up for rotting away in the Manchester City reserves. And yet you still think he's England worthy? Oh, it's all a bit embarrassing, Gareth. What else? I feel bad for Tammy Abraham. I mean, if this stupid World Cup had just been held in the summer, like a normal tournament, then Abraham would have been a shoo-in for the squad. I mean, last season he scored 27 goals for Roma. Absolutely no way would he be left to rot on the beanbag at home. But it's just this season, clearly the arrival of Andrea Bellotti at Roma has sort of thrown him off his game. Honestly, it's all a bit Toy Story. Honestly, Mourinho's Andy, Tammy is Woody, and even Bellotti looks a bit like Buzz Lightyear. I mean, Tammy only has 3 goals this season, so I do get it why he hasn't made the squad. Although, yeah, a bit unlucky. But lads, don't underestimate just how quickly the squad can change in mere weeks. I mean, if this tournament was in October, Ivan Toney would have made the list. I mean, he had just netted a hat-trick against Leeds, so at the risk of sounding like Tom Hanks stranded on an island, I just want to say, well done, Wilson! This is a brilliant pick from Southgate. Credit where it's due. I mean, it'd be so easy for Southgate to settle for his favourites. I mean, if I was English, part of me would have been frozen with fear all morning that Gareth was just going to settle for one of his favourites, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Oh yeah, is back fit now too. I mean, come on, you know, I know, even the dead dog in the street knows that DCL should have been nowhere near the squad. But I guarantee you that Calvert-Lewin, he knows of Southgate's love for his favourites, and he would have probably been spending this week nervously sitting by his phone. Correct? Well, he'd been out to dinner in Wagamama's and probably flinched every time he received a text in his purse, when in reality, no, he should have been nowhere near contention at all. I mean, it would be the equivalent of me expecting an invite to Ed Sheeran's wedding. But Wilson, considering he hasn't played for England in 3 years, I'm surprised that he has been picked. I mean, he's only ever scored 1 England goal in his life, and yet he's going to a World Cup. Again, I have to say, Gareth, well done. He is a brilliant pick. Maybe you don't completely have tomato soup for brains. By the way, I mean, surely Tony is out because of the whole gambling stuff, right? I mean, clearly the FA can't be seen to be choosing Tony when he's in trouble with the law. I mean, this isn't The Sopranos season 6. What else? James Maddison made the squad. Finally. So can we all now stop bleeding on about it? By the way, why is Conor Gallagher there? Has he really done enough? Based on his Crystal Palace form, Yes! But it's been established through Abraham that last season doesn't matter. This is all just based on the first 12 weeks of this campaign, right? And Gallagher, he started 4 league games, scored a goal, been sent off, and just played in 3 Chelsea defeats on the bounce. Honestly, this season he's been played in such a limited amount of minutes. You'd assume he was just a blonde Ross Barkley. I like Gallagher. He's a decent player, but he does not deserve the World Cup. Anyway, for some reason, Southgate seems to hate centre-backs moulded in the Chelsea academy. Trevor Chalobah, Mark Gay, and Fikayo Tomori. They're like a brotherhood. They're all 3 centre-backs of similar quality, all who started out at Chelsea, and their friendship has literally been like a human life-size game of start one, bench one, sell one. Although Chelsea wound up selling 2. But honestly, lads, I mean, Mark Gay could have been the one starting for Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel. Similarly, so could Tomori. And Chalobah wouldn't have looked out of place at Crystal Palace. And honestly, I think Trevor or even Gay could do a job at AC Milan too. Honestly, they're all of a similar quality. And Southgate's chosen none. Listen, Gay, okay, yeah, he's mid-table with Crystal Palace. I can make my peace with leaving him out. But Chalobah is literally starting every week for Chelsea as a centre-back. Like, what more do you want him to do? I'm convinced this is a similar weird vendetta that Southgate got with Chris Smalling. Again, someone who could literally win the Champions League with Roma, and yet Southgate will still sneer down his nose at him, as if he's just looking at Philip Senderos licking his earwax off the bathroom wall. You know what? This decision actually gets to me, because Tomori, this guy was born in Canada, and he captained their under-20 national team. Do you know how much it would have meant to his entire family if he was playing in the World Cup for the country of his birth? But no, he chose to trust in the process, and the youth coaches nibbling his ear in the England setup, and he put his faith in Southgate. That's why he switched to nationalities in 2016. It almost feels like Southgate just gave him those 3 caps in November 2019 just to cap him and trap him, just so he could stuff his Canada passport in a bin. And now, this World Cup dream, make no mistake about it, he would have captained Canada in Qatar. I mean, testing himself against Romelu Lukaku on match day 1. A player he would have looked up to in the Chelsea academy, and someone who's also now his Milan sparring buddy in the San Siro derbies. This guy would be a Canada superstar, posing for Instagram selfies with Justin Bieber, getting cheered on by Jim Carrey and Drake. But instead, no, he gets to spend this winter sitting in his lonely Milan flat, watching Home Alone dubbed in Italian. Do they all just root for Joe Pesci in that film? I mean, Tomori sacrificed his Canada dream for this. And for what? Honestly, Southgate, he's absolutely done him dirty. Anyway, that's what do you think? Let me know in the comments. What do you think of the England squad? Let me know. What do you think? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe as always. I'll talk to you in a while.